my friends, are just in time to take a shift, a revolutionary podcast hosted weekly by yours truly, Belinda and Katherine, that will literally alter the trajectory of your life.
We're on a mission to listen, ignite, and transform, challenging ourselves and you, dear listener, to journey deeper and get uncomfortable. Discover what lies beyond those layers of fear, judgment, smallness, and everything else that's been getting in your way up until now. Choose to step into new possibilities and courageously wake up to the life you know you were meant to be living.
So buckle up, Buttercup, summon your curiosity, and together, let's take a shift.
Well, welcome, dear listeners. Thank you for being with us today. Katherine won't be joining us. This is Belinda here. She is on the front lines of healing people with the coronavirus in Dallas at Parkland Hospital. And so I will be hosting today's call. And to join me, I have a special guest, a very, very dear friend and a mentor and a colleague, Renee Spears, who lives in Portland, Oregon, with me, just 5 minutes down the street. And Renee, I wanted to say a few things about Renee before we got started today. I met Renee in 2011 when I moved to Portland, and I heard her speak. And, you know, I'm a person who really trusts my gut and my intuition, and when it speaks loudly to me, I listen. After hearing Renee speak, I thought to myself, this is a person I need to know. I was new to Portland. I didn't know many people. And I was so compelled by her speaking. And it was the words she was using, but really it was more about her energy and the way she carried herself. This was a person I needed to be around. That led into a group that Renee and I would co-facilitate for about 6-7 years. Called Manifesting Money, and had several iterations, which led to us witnessing and being part of lots of different projects and collaborations, and watching each other grow in our own professions, in our personal and professional lives. So I'm thrilled to have Renee here today. Hi, Renee.
Hi, I'm excited to be here, Belinda.
So excited you're here. I've actually been on your podcast already, so this is very timely for you to come on mine. And as we've talked about in getting ready for today, I'm entitling this Raising Our Vibration. And I use the word vibration on a daily basis now, really thanks to you. You get really all the credit. But in order to have our listeners sort of understand what we're talking about here, I thought we would go back to when we started the group together that was then called Manifesting Money, to sort of give people a path of how, certainly for me, how I came to understand vibration. I think your path with understanding vibration came before. But why don't you take us back to that time and your early memories of what it was like to start that group and start this conversation around manifesting money in particular at the time.
Well, it was a wonderful group. I remember when we first started, there was about 20 of us that met weekly and talked about manifesting money. It became apparent right away that my idea of manifesting and everybody else's was really kind of different. It was the group was more focused on these activities that we're going to take where we would make money. And I was more focused, as you can remember, on changing how you feel so that you attract more money, attract more good things in your life. So I think the conversation kind of started off with just some simple things about what you put in your wallet, you know, how much money to carry in your wallet to make you feel abundant. And then we played the money game a couple different times in there and had all these great discussions. But it was really for learning about the things that made us feel abundant and how that was one of the ways to raise your vibration in a sense, so that you feel more abundant in a higher vibration, which then of course leads to making more money and being happier and having more love, joy, all that other stuff. So
that's so timely and pertinent, because at the end of our last podcast, Katherine and I were talking about this idea of have, do, be. Like, if I have that great car, then I'll be, riding around it and looking all cool, and then I'll be happy, kind of thing, and focusing, and that how that sort of upside down.
yes,
That's exactly what you're talking about, is like, if I am experiencing abundance within myself, if I'm experiencing a mindset of abundance, a feeling of abundance, is that how you were explaining that?
yes, exactly. It's the exact opposite of what we have been taught to believe. Like, you work really hard and then you get the thing and then you feel, happy or abundant or whatever. And it's the exact opposite. First, you need to feel abundant, and then you get the things. I've often said that you don't get more until you appreciate what you currently have. We're kind of in this society that's always striving for more. And when I get the bigger house, the better job, the better husband, the new car, that's when I'll feel happy. When in fact, it's the exact opposite. If we just took the time right now to appreciate what we have and realize how happy we currently are, then that's when you get the things, which ironically, then you don't really need the things to be happy because you're already happy.
So for somebody who's listening, who's saying, gosh, I'm not feeling that right now, and I'd love to be able to just shift into feeling, let's say, not afraid, let's say, like, what would you say to people as actual practical, like something they could do right now that could shift that?
Right this moment, if I was feeling afraid or anxiety or any emotion that we deem that's negative, although we know these emotions are all, useful, I would spend some time right now just sitting down and remembering, just thinking back to really super great times in my past where I was berry picking with my kids or kayaking with my mom, or maybe laying on the beach in Hawaii, and immerse myself in those memories of, the sun on my skin, the smell, the sounds of the waves, all of it, just shifting. And that's pretty easy to do. I think sometimes we get hung up because we feel like we have to sit down and meditate. And for a lot of people, that's just like death. They'd rather do anything else but sit down and meditate. So just sitting down and thinking of great times that you've experienced in the past is one easy way to shift what you're thinking about and raise your vibration.
I love that. I have found myself actually, lingering in bed a little longer in the mornings because we're not rushing to get the kids to school or get to the office, or, even going to sleep at night. It's sort of been a natural thing that's been happening where it's like, wow, time feels a bit different these days. And just going back and saying, I've said to myself a number of times, I'm going to go back to, like, what were some of the happiest days of my life, the happiest moments, just kind of naturally, like, I've got all this time. What do I want to do with it? Oh, let's just go back and reminisce. And I love that, because I can, even as you're just suggesting it, I can already feel a difference in just having sharing in the memory you just shared, the suggestions you just shared.
Yes. And I think it's important right now, while we're stuck inside, to make a plan each day. I do this every morning. I write a list of the things I'm going to do that day. And yeah, there's some things on there, vacuum, do some work. But other things that are on there are take a shower, sit down for 15 minutes and, think about your trip to Portugal, yoga, reading a good book, listening to music. I actually put that on my list. Listen to your top. I have like different playlists. I have an energy playlist and a relaxation playlist. And so, I'll put it on there today. Listen to your relaxation playlist. So we have to work these things into our schedule now, because this is really a time when we need to balance. We have so much heavy duty, energy out there, and we need to be able to balance our own energy. And part of the way is to actually put it on a list and do it.
Mm-hmm. And I hear intention in that. I mean, when I think about just sort of days pre-corona and these corona days, I would say that I'm a person who lives with a fair amount of intention, and I do get a lot of clarity. I mean, I'm just always thinking about purpose, whether it's purpose in my actions or purpose in my thought or my life purpose. But now it's like when we might have turned the radio on before, as many of us do, sort of unconsciously, like just, or the TV or the whatever. It's like now it's like we're thinking about things. We can be thinking about things with a bit more intention to, as you say, balance. I even want to say like combat. Like, I don't want to even use that word. I'm a little bit, but it's a little bit like there's this overflowing, pervasive kind of fear and that kind of energy that's on the planet right now. So it's almost like protecting ourselves in this kind of light, in this kind of energy. Yeah.
It's a form of self-care.
Yes.
Just like we need, to work out and eat healthy and have good sleep, we also need to be able to balance the amount of energy that's coming our way. If we have a lot of negative energy like we have now, we need to make sure that we balance that with all these positive things and shifting how we look at things. If not, I can really see the spiral into depression, anxiety, fear. And then once you're down there, it's so much harder to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, like for our listeners who might be a little bit even confused, some people might be confused about this. For you and I and groups that we've spoken in and worked with, this idea of sensing people's energy and working with people's energy and working with our own seems very natural. But for somebody who doesn't really get that, doesn't get that language, or doesn't, how would you explain it in a way that maybe somebody who never worked with this idea of energy or then vibration, how would you explain it in other terms?
The basic terms are the better you feel, the better your energy is. So when we're talking about good energy, we're talking about things that make you feel good. Hard energy, as we know right now, you turn on the news and every time I turn it on, there's things that don't make me feel good. That's lower vibrating energy. So if we're going to the simplest terms, that's what it is. Higher vibing stuff makes you feel better. Lower vibing stuff makes you feel worse. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. So even if you were watching the news, when you're talking about intention, right now, my intention with everything is to look for the things that make me feel good. So there could be a 30-minute newscast, but maybe 2 minutes at the end when they're talking about people sewing masks or everybody volunteering, for mental health specialists or doctors coming back. Okay, I give 28 of the minutes a little bit of energy, but those 2 minutes is something good. That's what I focus on. And that's what I try to take out of the newscast. Are these things that make me feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I notice as I'm looking through my Facebook that there are so many articles on there, and there can be this kind of masochistic tendency to go to all the negative stuff. Like, we're so used to that on some level. I don't know what that is, that can be like this like the drama of it, or I don't know, it's like this soup that we want to, swim in. And then this morning, for example, I was looking and I saw a 101-year-old man. Did you hear about this? 101-year-old man who had corona in Italy, who just left the hospital and survived. Oh, so it was like just noticing like, oh, I too, and I can see the difference, the feeling that there's actually a different feeling when we do that.
I've had to do that on social media. Actually, a lot of people that are my normal friends are having reactions that don't jive with me feeling good. So I've had to, unfollow a few people for the 30 days or whatever, just because when I go on there, I don't want to be overloaded with all of this negativity. And I've had to limit the amount that I'm on social media. You know me, I'm like a news junkie, and I'm one of those weirdos that can kind of distance themselves from what's going on. But social media right now, I've really had to limit my time because it doesn't make me feel good. And I'm looking for the things right now that make me feel good.
So let's talk about the word vibration a little bit. Get into a little bit deeper conversation about that, because I think maybe now we're at this point where we have definitely clearly articulated in this podcast that if we are feeling good inside, it is raising our energy and it is having an impact on us as well as people around us. And I did want to mention, before we dive into actually the word vibration, I did want to mention that one of my coaches, Brian Wetton, and my school where I did my master's in spiritual psychology, had showed me how to use a tool called a rating scale. And one quick way to actually check in with ourselves is to have some kind of rating scale. You could do it in your head, you can write it down, where it's like 1 in terms of how you're feeling is like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm in scarcity, the world is coming to an end, and 10 being the complete opposite of that, whatever that is. And then just walking through our days. At this point, I do this naturally. It's like a quick check-in of like, oh, does this feel like it's raising my energy level or not? And then I can choose to stay in it, of course, or I can choose to move to a different activity. But I think using rating scales and consciously asking ourselves when we're about to start an activity or in the middle of it, to remind ourselves to check in and say, like, so where am I on my own rating scale about how I'm feeling and my energy level? Because the whole point of this podcast is really to talk about why we would want to raise our vibration. Why do we, maybe some people just don't want to feel good. I don't know. I suppose that's okay too. But I have a feeling that most of us want to feel pretty good.
I have a feeling that people that are listening to this want to feel good. Yes, there are people that feeling bad for them is a habit. That's how they grew up, and that's where they want to stay in their lives, and that's fine. But you're right. I think most people do want to feel good and feel better. Mm-hmm. I love the scale thing. I don't use the number scale, but I do a similar thing of checking in constantly. When I wake up in the morning, how do I feel today? Am I feeling really low energy? And if I am, what's the best way that I can take care of myself to either raise my energy so I feel better, or allow myself to feel really crappy for a day, knowing, okay, I just need a day of feeling crappy in the long run would probably, like one day and then I have 10 days of feeling great is going to be better than if I try to push it away and I feel somewhat crappy for 10 days. So.
And there, you're also talking again about intention. Yeah. Like if you feel crappy on that day, it's like you give yourself permission to feel that, but you also have a mindset, you have the background, right, to that experience that says, I'm giving myself permission, full permission, so that I'm not going to feel that way for 10 days, sort of, right?
And then in a sense, you enjoy feeling bad more that day. Like if I'm going to take a day to feel bad, I'm go like all in. I'm not showering. I'm not doing dishes. I'm having food delivered, all of that. And so I might as well enjoy my bad day as much as I can.
Totally. So how do you, I love thinking back to the beginning of the Manifesting Money group that we started in January of 2012, because you had so much fun with us. I think some people probably took it personally. I did not. You just laughed a lot, I think, because so many of us, we had the best intentions of being there, and we were so naive in a way of how we thought about things, and really had a lot of limiting beliefs that we weren't aware of either. And just this whole idea of like, oh, we named this group Manifesting Money. It was such a lovely name, but for most of us, it was, Renee, help us to make more money. Like, help us to figure this out. Help us to feel better in our business. Help us to feel better about ourselves. So we did a lot of exercises, like you said. We started just doing some practices so we could start working with this thing called energy, working with feeling in our bodies, even this question of asking what we wanted. I feel like we spent a year asking some form of that question of what do I want and how do I want to feel?
Right.
And then we moved into, I feel like, what was a level of consciousness that was greater than maybe even just us individually. It started to feel like there was kind of a collective energy. And I feel like when we started talking about vibration, we were really talking about a collective. So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, David Hawkins has a really great book. It's called Power versus Force. And he breaks it down how all of us have an energetic set point. We're just born with it. It's also who we're surrounded by, our family, our community, all of that from the time that we're growing up. So we take on this energetic set point as we age and as we go through our lives, and we attract from that set point. So let's just say you were born into a low income area. Perhaps your parents, barely even made it through high school if they even graduated. And all your friends are in a low economic, area too. That's kind of what you believe is possible in the world from that standpoint. But if you were born into, let's just say, Beverly Hills, and you have parents that are doctors and lawyers and all of their friends are moguls, and you have here at the dinner table, different ways of making money, you just assume that it's easy to make money, or it's easy to have a great life, or if you want something, you just go for it. So we all have these energetic vibrations, but we can change those energetic vibrations based on what we think and feel and believe. So let's just say that hate has an energetic vibration of 200. And love has an energetic vibration of 700. We can move our vibration up the scale, like you were talking about, similar, by just doing more things that are loving to ourselves, to others, to the world. And that raises your personal vibration. But here's the kind of the cool thing that you were talking about with the collective. As your vibration raises and you are more aware and paying attention and setting intentions for what you want in your life, that raises also the collective vibration. So anytime anybody does any personal work, it helps everybody out. So one high vibrating person in Portland, Oregon, like Belinda, could be balancing out over, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million people that may have a lower vibration. As you raise, you're also raising them up slightly too. So it's really kind of a cool way how the whole thing works.
Well, and again, it couldn't be at a better time that we're talking about this, as the almost 8 billion people on the planet are feeling connected in a way. I mean, there's no one who can say now that we're not connected.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we were saying it before, maybe with the internet, how cool, but now it's like we're connected on a physiological level. We're seeing it, right? We're passing this contagion on, for better, for worse. Yes. This is happening, and we're having a consciousness of how connected we really are. And so this just reinforces that idea. And I remember you talking about this, however many years ago it was, and how I loved that idea, because I think sometimes, and maybe a lot of people listening feel like this, I know this has been my experience for 10 years, is a lot of times I'm thinking, well, I'm doing what I'm doing in my life, and what impact does that really have, right? And then I try to go and I try to get more clients or help more people or be a better person or whatever, and I'm thinking, well, what impact is that really having? And then in the Hawkins book, talking about literally, like, you could be sitting and thinking about that beautiful memory, or if you're a meditator, meditating, and that it is having impact beyond. We might not be able to see it or taste it or touch it, but it is.
Well, and they've measured, like, after 9/11, the 24 hours after 9/11, the energy and the planet had a measurable difference. And they were the cause of that they've said is because of compassion. That we all felt compassion for what had happened for people. And we kind of, on a global scale, were grieving but with love. As you can see at that time, all the people clapping for the firemen that were coming out of 9/11 and everybody helping and donating, and everything that happened at that time collectively raised the Earth's vibration. So we have a similar thing happening now. Yes, we have horrible death and disease that's happening now, but then we have it balanced with everybody helping everyone else out. So that is really going to outweigh the negativity of this. I think this is an important life-changing time on our planet where we have the opportunity as a planet to completely raise our vibration and live in a much better world.
Yes. And I think as you're saying that, it's making me think that how we talk about what's happening on the planet right now is really important, because all of that stuff that is happening in the news and a lot of it on Facebook is how awful this is. And like you said, when people die, of course, it's terrible. It's physically terrible for the person who's having to experience this. It's very sad for the family and the friends and the community that's losing that person. So there is that reality that's happening. And so we don't want to take away from any individual person's experience. And right, there's this, again, the collective, like the bigger picture, which is how are we talking about this, which is either going to raise our vibration individually and globally, right, or lower it. And I think it's important to say that here, because I think there are people who are talking this way on Facebook, right? But still the prevalent conversation is negative and it is doomsday from what I've observed. Would you agree?
I would agree. That's probably why I'm limiting my time on social media right now. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's something in a very subtle way where if anyone who is listening is interested in not only raising their own vibration, but raising the vibration of the planet, is just considering how you're thinking about what's happening right now, and that you actually have a choice. Yes. It's not like, oh, it's set in stone, this is how you have to think about this. Like how we choose to think about it, how we choose to approach it, how we choose to be with our neighbors, right? How we choose to be with the news and Facebook and all that is a choice.
Yes. Yes. And it's an important choice. Once again, you're in the moment, you may think you're choosing this for yourself to make yourself feel better. But if we all chose the way that we're thinking about this and how we want to be during this time, it's going to make a significant difference to how everything comes out. Yeah. So, and you know me, I love to start with like the simple things, like an appreciation practice, and I know you've heard me say this 100 times, so I apologize to you, Belinda, but it's that morning appreciation practices I start with every single day. Like I love how my soap in my shower feels, and I just smell my soap and have it on my skin, and the hot water and the great shampoo and the body wash, and I mean, just the fact that we have clean, warm water coming out.
Yes.
So that, and then a nice towel. And so really starting with your morning and your day with an appreciation practice is one of the simplest, easiest ways to start you on a good day where you're looking at the positive.
Yes. And in my experience, there are many things that I still would say I'm not practicing on a daily basis. And so there are things that I'm still practicing. And there are many things like going into that shower. I don't even have to think about it anymore, right? I walk into the shower and it's so integrated in me that it's almost like a silent prayer, that says like, I recognize that I have hot water, right? I recognize that I am so gifted, and so I don't have to write it down in my journal to remind myself to have that gratitude. That's one of the ones I would say it's been integrated. Yeah. I keep saying that so many of us are living this in luxury. And I know that could be really challenging for some people to hear. And I know we're not all in the same situation regarding money or our family's health or our resources. But when I think about, I'm reading Edith Eger's book, The Choice, right now, the Holocaust survivor who's in her 90s now, who's been on Facebook, and she's been talking about really raising her own and raising the planet's vibration. Means all the same, different words, same message, from a woman who, I mean, was near death for 3 or 4 years. I mean, it's a horrific story what she went through, and even as she was going through it, it reflects again the choices that we're making in these subtle ways on a daily basis.
Yeah. Even now, and actually, because I have a great appreciation practice, as you know, but my thing lately has been toilet paper, because I'm down to my final 4 rolls of toilet paper, which is fine. I know I'll get more. But appreciating each time that I have toilet paper. You know, I know this seems so ridiculous, but I'm so appreciative that with my now my 3 sheets to wipe number 1, you know, but I'm really looking for more things to appreciate, that we have heat and food and water and toilet paper, the simple things.
Yeah. It makes me think about Michelle Obama. I did listen to her for maybe a minute and a half yesterday. Somebody was interviewing her, and she was talking about it really coming down to very simple, basic things too, that as we're having greater appreciation for these things, I think many of us are also noticing the things that we can do without and the things that we don't really need, and all of sort of the noise, so to speak, in our consumption, whether it's the news or whether it's physical things or whether it's activities that we thought were so important. I mean, really, I would say, and I wonder how you would respond to this, that part of this experience for me has been a very deep inquiry into what was actually bringing me pleasure in my life prior to this. Like, what really did I love? And what were the things that I was sort of just doing as part of a routine, as part of habit, as part of the things that were scheduled on my calendar 6 months ago. And I felt this incredible freedom right now when the calendar just completely goes blank on all fronts, right? Everyone, I mean, most of us who aren't on the front lines are not working at the same level we were working before. We're working in, restricted ways. We're not socializing the way we were before. We're not going to the gym. We're not doing all the activities and all of this. And it's made it for me this time, 2 weeks now that we've been home as a family, where life feels, there's so much joy that's happening of just simply being together, being present with each other, finding all the resources we already have in our house. I mean, whether it's a piece of paper and a deck of cards, playing a game, or whether it's sitting on the couch and telling stories. Our kids love hearing, stories of our childhoods. And for me, I feel like I'm really trying to ground this so that I don't forget when this is done, because it feels to me like we're getting in touch with what really does make us feel happiest, when somehow at some point we lost that, and then we started to try to fill that with all kinds of other stuff.
We did. We filled it with stuff, literally stuff. Also keeping busy so we didn't have to pay attention to what we were feeling. I think that this is going to change a lot of people's lives. I think that they're going to reevaluate what they're doing for work and what makes them happy and what stuff they can live without, to perhaps have a simpler life where they do have more time to spend with their friends and their family. For me in particular, I have music on in the background, but that's all. I have not appreciated it. Now to have all of these artists doing these concerts, on the one that you sent to, was it the Amsterdam or the Rotterdam Orchestra, was fabulous. But I have never appreciated live music as much as I do now, where I can't just go out and, other times you can just go out and see it, especially in Portland, there's always somebody to see. But now to have it, I don't know, it shifted my whole entire view of music.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've absolutely thought about, in terms again of raising the vibration of the planet, I thought musicians, they should all be getting raises right now. They should be at like the top of society, because I don't care what kind of music it is going to make you feel something.
Yes.
You might not like that feeling and you may choose to let's do a different kind, but they are making us feel something, right? We can't be disconnected to our feelings when we're listening to music. There's no way.
True. It's so true. I appreciate it so much right now.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that we're in for a consciousness shift, which honestly, it's been a long time coming. We've since the 80s and 90s have been in greed mode, the more, bigger, bigger, bigger. And it's just time that we refocus to what's important to us. Time to sit and do nothing and ponder life. That's important to me. Mm-hmm. But spending time with my family, I realize, because I'm here by myself now, that I really miss that. I miss having dinner with my kids. So those hour conversations on the phone become so much more valuable. And one thing that I've noticed that I really miss is laughing. I didn't realize how much during the day that I laughed about things. So I had a phone call with a girlfriend a couple days ago, and all we did on the phone was laugh. Just to be able to be alive and laugh. What a gift that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another way to raise the vibration of the planet, laughter. Yes. Raise your vibration and the vibration of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Renee, thank you so much.
Thank you, Belinda. It's always great talking with you. We always have the best conversations.
I know. And thank you, everybody, for listening. If you want to learn more about Renee, she has a website. It's abundology.com.
Yep.
Is that right? And you can learn more about Renee and the work that she's doing in the world today. And you can always find us at takeashiftnow.com. Thank you for listening. Keep raising your vibration, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Renee.
Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Take a Shift, a part of Mental Health News Radio Network. We are so grateful for your time and presence. Always remember, you're just one shift away from a better feeling day in your life. Until next time, remember to listen, ignite, and transform. Much love from us to you.